it's Hailey. Merry Christmas or Happy Saturday if you don't celebrate. Today is Bookmas Day 25, so I'm going to be doing a Christmas book haul. Before we get into the video, don't forget to click that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post. I'm posting a new video every single day for the entire month of December to celebrate Bookmas. I will also have yesterday's Bookmas video linked down below. I did a Christmas bookshelf scavenger hunt as well as the Bookmas playlist so you can get caught up if you may have fallen behind. I'm really excited for today's video. I think this is the third year in a row that I've done a book haul on Christmas Day, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's just kind of like my little Christmas gift to myself. My little, like, you got through the year, congratulations. And I kind of spoiled myself a lot this year because let me tell you, this was one of the hardest years of my life. I'm not gonna lie. It has been rough. Like 2020 was like hard, but this was like, it was so much worse. So I have acquired quite a few books for myself that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So without further ado, let's just get into the book haul. The first book that I have here is You Can Go Your Own Way by Eric Smith. Eric Smith is the author of Don't Read the Comments, which I read this past year, or was it the year before? I don't even know, but I did really enjoy it when I read it. I was very pleasantly surprised by it, and I think it was this last year actually. But when I saw that he was coming out with a new book, I knew I definitely had to get my hands on it. This is about a character who he loves this old pinball arcade. It is his favorite place, and it's also the last thing that he has of his father. Now, the other character, she is running the social media for her father's very successful gaming cafe business that they actually want to turn that pinball arcade into one of these lifeless chain internet gaming cafes. So the two of these characters are kind of butting heads, and then they actually end up getting stuck in the pinball arcade during a snowstorm. So this is definitely one that I'm going to try and get to during the winter because, I mean, snowstorm, you know, it's very fitting, and it's one I'm really excited for. Next is Recommended for You by Laura Silverman. This book is about two characters. They are rival booksellers, and they have this enemies to lovers sort of relationship, but the stakes are even higher because they are competing to be bookseller of the month. I think that sounds so adorable. I definitely love any literary romances like this, so I think this one is going to be a success for me, and it's for sure one that I have had my eye on for a while. This cover is so cute. Like, I love the author appearance by Laura Silverman for the author's name and everything. It's very well thought out, so I feel like the inside is going to be too. Next is Defy the Night by Bridget Commermer. I mentioned this book in my most hyped books of 2021 video for Bookmas Day 14, and I had really had it on my mind ever since then, so I did end up actually getting a copy of it. This is a book that everyone has been talking about, and I would love to know why. It does seem to kind of follow the typical fantasy sort of timeline that I'm used to, but that's not a bad thing. I didn't really like the other book that I read by this author, but I'm definitely willing to give her a second chance. It may have just been that book. So this is about a rebellion and this kingdom that the prince is trying desperately to save, while this girl is trying to bring it all crashing down. So definitely an interesting setup. Next is Duke Actually by Jenny Holiday. This is one of the many Christmas books that I ended up picking up this year. I don't know what it is, but there just seem to be so many holiday romances this year, and I could not resist picking them up. And this one I actually found out is a sequel, so oops, but I still do want to read it. It's about a girl who has sworn off love, and then this duke, he's just been broken up with by the princess, and then his father sends him to New York City, and there's this royal wedding. Like, everything about that sounds amazing and kind of is giving me Eloise at Christmas time vibes, I think, just because of the wedding and everything. Not that that's a royal wedding, but the vibes are still there, and I love that movie, so I'm really looking forward to this. Next is Harley in the Sky by Akemi Dawn Bowman. This is another book that I had had my eye on for a while, and I finally decided to go for it. This is actually about a character who wants to be a trapeze artist, and her family owns this circus, so it's pretty perfect. But then her family, she ends up getting in a huge fight with them because they want her to go to school instead. So she ends up running away, and joining the rival traveling circus. And there she's in a world that she wasn't expecting. So I think that sounds amazing. I love the idea of this. It kind of reminds me of The Bones of Ruin by Sarah Raleigh, which I still need to read, but have been very much looking forward to. And I don't know what it is with all the trapeze artists. There's something about it that just seems so whimsical that always gets me. So I hope that this one has the whimsy that I'm looking for. Next is Redemptor by Jordan Ifueko. I actually hauled Raybearer in my Christmas book haul last year, and I read it and really enjoyed it. And this is the sequel, and this cover is so beautiful. Like, they did such a good job with these covers, even the back. I love it. So Raybearer was really unlike anything I've ever read before, and it had me dying to get my hands on the sequel, and I really want to know what is going to happen in here. So I'm so excited to have my hands on it now, finally, and I will definitely be trying to read this in early 2022. Next is The Holiday Switch by Tiff Marcello. I have read another book by Tiff Marcello, and I did really like it. It was an adult romance sort of chick lit book, The Key or the Guide to Happily Ever After. And it was about sisters who ran a wedding business, and it was very enjoyable. So when I saw that she has a YA romance, I was definitely very intrigued by it. And I may have read some of these Christmas reads by the time you guys are seeing this video, because while I'm filming it, I'm actually filming my Christmas romance reading vlog. So hopefully I will have gotten to this one, but it's about an innkeeper and a bookseller, I think it was. But essentially the innkeeper's nephew is very annoying, and the main character ends up accidentally swapping phones with him, and then they are forced to keep each other's secret and realize that, you know, they might have to work together. So definitely seems like an intriguing Christmas romance. Next is So This Is Christmas by Tracy Andreen. This is about a town called Christmas. It's Christmas, Oklahoma, and the main character has told this guy that it's like everything Christmas, festive all around, and then he actually comes to see it, and she has to show him that Christmas, Oklahoma is exactly what she had described it as, even though things have kind of changed. So she's trying to show him that it's this festive place and kind of has to act like it really is. So definitely a fun romance idea. It reminds me a lot of a Hallmark movie, honestly, but it says on the back, Christmas, Oklahoma is a terrible place to celebrate Christmas, but luckily it's the perfect place to fall in love. So obviously we're gonna get a Christmassy romance here, but I'm excited for it. Next is Heiress Apparently by Diana Ma. I knew I needed this book, and I knew I needed it because I enjoyed Tokyo Ever After so much, which is pretty much like Princess Diaries, but with a Japanese princess. And this is kind of the same thing. It is following the fictionalized descendants of the only like certified Empress regent of China. So I'm like really excited to see how that's going to play out. I generally just really enjoy stories about royals, and I think that this one is going to be no exception. It's actually a whole series, so that is going to be really cool. I don't know if there's another book out yet or if it's just this one, but either way, really looking forward to it. Next up is the ever so hyped up book, The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I will be trying to get to this in early 2022. I'm going to do a reading vlog reading TikTok recommended romances. So I'm going to read this one and then another book that I was actually gonna haul today, but now I don't know where my copy is, but I'll haul it in my January book haul, but that's The Spanish Love Deception. So I will be reading both of those in that reading vlog, so stay tuned for that. But The Love Hypothesis, I thought was enemies to lovers just by reading the synopsis, but apparently it's not, so that's just my bad. It's where this girl, she decides to enter into a fake dating relationship. She's actually a PhD scientist. I don't remember specifically what. It just says a third-year PhD candidate. When a fake relationship between scientists meets the irresistible force of attraction, it throws one woman's carefully calculated theories on love into chaos. So she ends up like kissing this guy, but then finds out that he's a terrible person. So then she ends up starting a fake relationship with the lab tyrant. So pretty much like she doesn't not like him, but everyone else doesn't like him. And she's just doing that to get her friend off of her back about romance. I feel like this, my expectations are high just because everyone seems to love it. And I guess we'll see how I feel about it. Next is the Henna Wars by Adiba Jagirdar. I am so excited to have this book because it seems adorable. It was pretty hyped up last year, but now I finally have a copy of it. So this is a female-female romance, and it follows two characters who run rival henna businesses. So it's an enemies to lovers as well. It's an enemies to lovers lesbian romance, and I just think that sounds amazing. Like, so cute. The setup for it is amazing, and I have heard nothing but great things about it, so I'm definitely really looking forward to seeing what all the hype is about. Next, I decided to finally pick up a copy of The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. I had been hesitating to pick up this book just because I was waiting for the paperback, like no other reason than that. However, the paperback isn't supposed to come out until like 2024 or something ridiculous like that, so I was like, whatever, I'll just go for it, because I have really enjoyed the books that I have read by this author before, and specifically Blade of Secrets I really liked, which was her most recent novel. This is a fantasy standalone, I believe, and it came out a couple years ago, and it's about a character who she wants to woo the Shadow Queen. Like, she has this whole plan: woo the Shadow King, then get close enough to kill him and take over his kingdom for herself. So like, that's a very dark setup, and that being the protagonist's plan has me so intrigued. Next up is Blame It on the Mistletoe by Beth Garrett. I'm actually currently reading this book in like the point that I am at with my reading vlog that you guys will have already seen. I'm kind of struggling with it so far, but it's fine. Like, I'm still very early on, but this is a holiday retelling. So The Holiday, the movie with Cameron Diaz and Jack Black and Kate Winslet and Jude Law, I think is the other one. I can never remember actors' names, but I really enjoy that movie. I actually watched it on my birthday while I was decorating the Christmas tree. It is like, it's one of my favorite Christmas movies, which I never really realized, but I do really like it. That being said though, I do have a lot of favorite Christmas movies. I would just say that one's like up there for romances. Anyways, so this is about a social media star. She had this pretty successful account, and then she ended up losing it and having to start over again. So she's trying to regain popularity, and she decides to switch places with one of her British followers in order to try and do that. So they switch places in the days leading up to Christmas. I just kind of am struggling with the writing at this point, but it could get better, so we shall see. The setup is definitely really, really cute. Next is Dreams Lie Beneath by Rebecca Ross. I actually have another book by Rebecca Ross. I've read one of her books and I thought it was okay, but I have her other book, and like, her concepts just get me every time. So I do really need to read the other previous release of hers that I have. However, I couldn't resist picking this one up. This is about a like fantastical land where nightmares on every new moon, nightmares actually like come to life. So then there are these, I forget what it's called actually, it started with a T, I think. It did, territory wardens. So these territory wardens, they protect the people from their nightmares. And the main character wants to be a territory warden, but then she ends up actually being challenged by two magicians, which are territory wardens are magicians. So she ends up being challenged by them and brought into a centuries-old war. I am so intrigued by this world. This cover is absolutely stunning. Just everything about it. I couldn't resist. Next, I picked up Hunting by Stars by Sherry Dimaline. So this is actually the sequel to The Marrow Thieves, which I also have on my TBR and really want to read. It is by a Canadian author, and The Marrow Thieves, the whole concept of it is that it's a post-apocalyptic world and no one can dream anymore. I just realized we were just talking about dreams. Well, we have more dreams here. So no one can dream anymore except for North American indigenous peoples, and they are actually being killed as their marrow is the cure for this disease that has no one able to dream. So they are being killed as unwilling donors of their marrow. It definitely seems like a really dark and difficult concept, but I'm excited to read the first book and the sequel. Next is the Shaadi Set-Up, and this is by Lily Vale. We have two dogs on the cover, so like, I just couldn't resist, but it does also sound like a really interesting concept. This is about a character who she has her boyfriend and her go on this matchmaking site to prove that they are the perfect match, but instead of getting matched with each other, she ends up getting matched with her ex. I love that. Like, that just seems spicy, steamy. I am so intrigued by it, and like, I just want to read this now. Next is Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson. This is the third book of the Skyward series. I don't know if it's just going to be a trilogy or if it's a series, but I really enjoy the Skyward series. I'm actually caught up on it, which is like very hard for me to say about many series, but I have just not been disappointed yet. So I'm really excited to have a new book in this series. It just has a way of like hooking me and pulling me in. I didn't even actually know that this was coming out until I think someone mentioned it as like one of their most anticipated for the end of the year, and I was like, I didn't even know that was happening, but luckily I was able to use my coupon on it, which by the way is kind of why I do this like Christmas present to myself, because I have like, obviously with Black Friday and stuff, there's sales sometimes, so I'm able to get 30% off, but also since my birthday is November 30th, I get a coupon for my birthday where I'm able to get around 30% off. I think it was like 25 or something this year, but every little bit helps. Next is a book that I've actually already read, and that is Nick and Noel's Christmas Playlist by Cody Hall. So I read this, I started it in my unwrapping reading vlog, and then I actually finished it in the reading vlog that I'm currently filming. I finished it before I even got the chance to start the reading vlog. I listened to the audiobook for this one, and it was absolutely adorable. It was everything that I wanted from it. Like, it is a friends to lovers romance. It follows these two characters. They live in Mistletoe. The main character, he works on, well, the main male character, he works on his family's Christmas tree farm. Like, there's just so much festivity surrounding this book, and the relationships in it are amazing. The main female character, her best friend, she's her maid of honor for her wedding, and they are getting married on Christmas Eve. I think it was Christmas Eve, but essentially they are having a Christmassy wedding, and everything about this book is festive, adorable. It does get quite steamy, like steamier than the reads that I usually read, but I really enjoyed the book overall. It was a lot of fun, super cute, and I was definitely rooting for Nick and Noel. Their chemistry was impeccable. Next, I also ended up picking up The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I mentioned this in my most hyped of the year, and then also one of the like best books of the year when I asked you guys what your best books were. And my sister actually has read this book, and I had seen it, didn't know the concept, but then when I read it for that video, I was like, this sounds amazing. It is actually an adult fantasy, but it's this world where, well, not really this world, but after you die, between life and death, there's a library, and in it are all the possible lives that you could have lived, all the decisions that you could have made, and what difference that would have made. So you read these books and like you see what your life would have been if you had made a certain decision. I think that seems so interesting, and like especially with my life this year has been such a mess, so I feel like I'm in a very transformative time in my life, and I would like to read this book because it just seems appropriate for where I am now. Next is Empress of All Seasons by Emiko Jean. This is by the author of Tokyo Ever After, which I mentioned earlier in this video, the one that's like Princess Diaries but Japan, and this is her other book, and it is quite different because it's actually a fantasy novel, but it is still like, I was super intrigued when I actually read the synopsis for it. So this is about this kingdom where every year they choose a new empress, and the way that you get to be empress is you go into this palace of illusions, and you have to get through the 4 rooms, which are based on the seasons. Something about like anything with seasons or like stars, like this kind of makes me think of Spin the Dawn. It always gets me, hooks me every single time. But having enjoyed Tokyo Ever After so much, I'm super intrigued to see what the author's writing is like in a fantastical setting. I think I'll really like it. Next is Outrun the Moon by Stacey Lee. I knew I had to pick up the last book of Stacey Lee's that I haven't read yet because I'm all caught up. She writes very diverse historical fictions, and I am a huge lover of historical fiction, so I knew that I needed this one. And this follows a character who wants to go to the school for girls very badly, but the only problem is that they only admit wealthy white girls. Now she ends up actually being able to get into this school, but it's set in San Francisco in 1906, and she ends up being in this camp for displaced persons. I think it was specifically temporary park encampment, but it's because there's the devastating San Francisco earthquake, and her school and her home are completely destroyed. So I am super intrigued by this story. I have never read anything like set during the San Francisco earthquake, so I'm very much looking forward to learning more about that. And the final book that I have here is Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. I didn't realize that this was actually self-published, but I thought it seemed really cute, so I picked up a copy, and it's definitely like a quick, cute Christmas read, and it's one that I'm going to try and get to in the reading vlog that I'm filming now. I'll just read the back for you because it's more like a poem. So 2 weeks before Christmas and all through Manhattan, shop windows are decorated in red and green satin. I'm standing alone in front of the famous Vivint department store when a charming man named Aiden asks my opinion of the decor. It's a tragedy in tinsel, I say, unable to lie. He asks for a better idea with a twinkle in his eye. Did I know he owned the place? No, he put me on the spot. Now I'm working for that man, trying to ignore that he's hot. But as a down on her luck girl with a difficult past, I know an opportunity when I see one, and I have to make it last. I'll put my heart and soul into dressing his holiday windows. I'll work without stopping. And when we lose the battle with temptation, I'll try and remember I'm just window shopping. I feel like this seems really interesting. I just love the idea of like dressing up the windows, you know, department store at Christmas time, of course. I was a sucker for the cover, honestly. It definitely got me. Okay, so those are all the books for this Christmas book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys have a happy Sunday or a very Merry Christmas and you're able to spend time with family, friends, doing something you love, just relax and enjoy the day. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Tomorrow for Bookmas Day 26, I'm going to be showing you all of the books on my TBR pile. I'm going to be talking about a lot of books. That video is going to be a nightmare to edit, but it's fine. It's gonna be worth it. So don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss that, and I will see you in tomorrow's new video. Bye!